Hi guys, and welcome back to the Crochet Toy YouTube channel. In today's video I'm bringing you another new crochet tutorial, and this time it's another one in the Palworld series. So I've got a bunch of comments from people requesting various pals that they want me to make, so thank you for all your requests. I've added them to a list and I'm going to try and do as many as I can, but in today's video I'm going to be doing Sarah's request, which was for Sweepa. So here's what he looks like. And he has got a tail actually, so sometimes it's not obvious when I search characters like whether they've got a tail or not, so I always try and find a picture where you can see the behind, because I almost assumed that Sweepa didn't have a tail, but I'm glad I did find the picture where his tail was visible, so I did add that on as well. But obviously you could omit that depending on how you're going to display this and whether anyone's actually going to see the back. But yeah, if you're interested in finding out how to make Sweepa, then keep watching. For this tutorial you'll be needing aran weight yarn in the following colours. White, this is the colour you'll definitely need the most of, but you definitely won't need as much as this. You only need less than 50 grams of this. And then you'll need small amounts of your blue and your dark blue colours. Like I say, just very small amounts there, I'd say less than 20 grams each. Then you'll be needing your crochet hook. I've got a 4mm crochet hook to go with my aran weight yarn, but if you're using a heavier or lighter weight of yarn, just make sure that you size up or down your crochet hook as required. Then I've got a stitch marker. I'm just using an offcut of yarn for this. I've got a yarn needle for sewing things together. I've got some safety eyes with the backs here. So these safety eyes that I have are 6mm circular ones, and you can obviously use whichever ones you want, or you could just embroider the eyes if you don't have safety eyes. Then I've got some pins to help me when I'm sewing things together. I've got my scissors, and then you're also going to need some stuffing. You'll need a lot more than this, but this is just to demonstrate. We're going to start by crocheting the head / body, so you're going to need your white yarn for this. We're going to start with round 1 by doing 6 single crochets in a magic circle. And then just pull on the tail to close up the hole. And then for round 2 we're going to increase all the way around, so that'll be 2 single crochets that we're going to work into each stitch, and that's going to get us up to 12 single crochets at the end of round 2. Okay, so that's round 2 complete, and I've got 12 single crochets. Now for round 3 I'm going to do single crochet increase, and I'm going to repeat that pattern all the way around, so that'll be 6 times doing that in total, and that will get me up to 18 single crochets at the end of round 3. So this is my increase, single crochet, increase, and so on. Okay, so at the end of round 3 I've got 18 single crochets. Okay, so now that you're comfortable with how to do single crochets and increases, I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds where those are the only stitches required. So for round 4 you're going to do 2 single crochet increase and repeat that 5 more times to get you up to 24 single crochets. Round 5, 3 single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 30. Round 6, 4 single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 36. Round 7, single crochet all the way around, so just 36 single crochets in this round. Round 8, 5 single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 42. Rounds 9 to 10, single crochet all the way around, so just 42 single crochets per round. Round 11, 6 single single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 48, then rounds 12 to 19 single crochet all the way around, so 48 single crochets per round. I'll meet you when you're about to start round 20, as we're then going to be doing some front loop only work, so I'll show you how to do that. So I'm just about to start round 20, and this is what the head slash body is looking like now, so we're nearly done with this part. For round 20, what we're going to be doing is just single crocheting all the way around, but in the front loop only, so I'll show you what I mean by that. So obviously normally we'll be crocheting into both of these two loops here that you can see, but when we're crocheting into the front loop only, it's just this loop closest to us that we want to crochet into. So we're just going to do normal single crochets, but in the front loop only, like this. And we're just going to repeat that all the way around. And the reason why we're doing that is because, as you can hopefully see here, and it will become more apparent when we finish the round, this then leaves these back loops available to us, and we can sew into those later on. So it's just going to make our lives easier later on if we do this round in the front loops only. So I'll meet you when you finish doing that all the way around. So I just finished round 20, and this is what it's looking like now. So hopefully you can see that kind of ridge all the way around, and those are the loops that we didn't work into, which we'll come back to, and we'll need those later. So now we're going to do our final round of creating this part. Obviously we're not just going to leave the bottom of this piece open, but this is what I'm saying, we're going to crochet sort of like a circle to go underneath this, and then we're going to sew it down to these back loops that we didn't work into previously, just to give you an idea of what we're going to be doing next. But yeah, we're just about to do our final round now. So for round 21, we're going to start creating the sort of frilly effect at the bottom of this piece. So we're going to start off by doing a half double crochet. So for that, you just yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops at the same time. And I'm just going to mark this as my first stitch so I don't lose track of where the round started. Then into the next stitch, we're going to work a few different stitches into the same stitch. So we're going to start off by doing a double crochet. So yarn over, go into the loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Then we're going to do a chain free picot stitch. So that just means chain free, 1, 2, 3, and then slip stitch into the first chain that you created. And that's it. Then we're going to work another double crochet into the same stitch. Then we're going to work a half double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So hopefully you'll have noticed that that's 4 stitches that we worked into there. So we're going to be repeating this 12 times in total. We're going to be doing this all the way around. So I'll just show you once more the pattern that we're going to be following. So half double crochet, then into the next stitch, start off with a double crochet, then a chain free picot, then another double crochet into the same stitch, then a half double crochet into the next stitch, and then a slip stitch into the next stitch. And as you can see, like I say, that creates this sort of frill effect at the bottom. So I'm just going to do that all the way around, and I'll meet you when I finish that. I finished round 21 now, and this is what it looks like. So now all we're going to do is cut our yarn. You don't need to leave a tail for sewing or anything like that. And then you can just knot this a little bit on the inside. So I'm just going to weave that yarn tail down a little bit. And then I'm going to start knotting that. So just try and pick any loop on the inside. It doesn't really matter because anything that's on the inside is going to get covered up and you won't be able to see that. Just a couple like that. And you can cut that yarn tail if you want, but I'll probably just leave it on the inside. And now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually add the eyes at this point. So grab your safety eyes and let's do that. So to place the eyes, firstly I'd always recommend placing the eyes opposite where you finish the final round, just because this part where we're starting and ending the rounds tends to be the more messy part, which I like to hide at the back of the piece. And then what we're going to do is place the eyes, so I'll give you a bit of a guidance as to where to place them. So I would suggest that they go roughly between rounds 11 and 12, 4 single crochets apart. So I'm just going to count down to get to round 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is round 11 and that one's round 12, so it needs to go somewhere here. In fact, I might just move that over a couple. And then about 4 single crochets apart, place the other eye. So something like that. I'm actually quite happy with that placement, so I'm going to leave it there, but obviously you can play around and move things around a little bit until you're happy with it. And then just pop the backs on the eyes. Okay, so once you've done that, now what we're going to move on to is making the circle to go at the bottom of the body. So I have skipped ahead and made the bottom circle because it's all just rounds that we've done already as part of the head / body, so I didn't want to bore you by showing you that again. I'll just talk through them and I'll put them on the screen now. So for round 1, you're going to do 6 single crochets in a magic circle. Round 2, increase all the way around to get you up to 12. Round 3, single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 18. Round 4, 2 single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 24. Round 5, 3 single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 30. Round 6, 4 single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 36. Round 7, 5 single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 42. Then round 8, 6 single crochet increase, repeat 5 more times to get you up to 48. And then just cut your yarn, leaving a fairly long tail for sewing, and then I'll show you how to sew this to the body. Okay, so I've got the body here in this little circle. I'm personally going to be sewing this so that the right side of this is facing outwards, because obviously the wrong side is going to be on the inside and that's going to look neater. It doesn't really matter though, because you won't really see the bottom part anyway, because unless you're picking it up and looking at it, you wouldn't naturally see that. So for this then, what we're going to do is we need to identify where those available loops are that we didn't work into from round 19. So you can see, hopefully you can sort of see the ridge where those loops are, and all we're going to do is we're just going to be whip stitching all the way around, working into those loops. So going from the circle, going through both loops of the circle into that available front loop from round 19 like this. And you're just going to repeat that until you get to maybe about 10 single crochets left to sew down, at which point you're going to want to add your stuffing. So I have just a few stitches left to sew down now, and I've added my stuffing at this point, so I'd recommend that you do the same. And I'd say you just want to stuff this moderately, so be careful, because if you do overstuff, then the bottom part might bulge out a little bit. To help with this, you could do something like cutting out a circle out of cardboard and placing that in here to keep the bottom more flat. But personally, I find that I couldn't be bothered to do that, if I'm being completely honest, and it still seems to work fairly okay without putting anything to reinforce the bottom. So I'm personally not going to bother doing that. I'm just going to go a bit lighter on my stuffing than I would do normally, so that I don't risk the bottom part bulging out too much. But once you've added your stuffing, just continue sewing all the way around until you get back to where you've started. So yeah, I'm just going to do that and I'll meet you when I've finished that. I finished sewing that all the way around now, so I'm just going to weave my yarn tail through the bottom of the body. You can do this a few times if you want to make it extra secure, but I'm just going to do it the once, just flatten this out a little bit, and then I can cut this as I don't need this tail anymore. So hopefully you've got something that's looking kind of like this now. So in terms of what we're going to be moving on to next, we're going to make the moustache next, that's going to go underneath the eyes. So for the moustache, we're making two little pieces like this, and then we're going to sew them next to each other. Hopefully you can see the slight moustache shape to this. I did struggle a little bit, if I'm being honest, to create a pattern for this because I wanted the moustache to be quite small, and it was hard to get the definition that I wanted while using my 4mm crochet hook and aran yarn, but I think I got something that I'm happy with. So yeah, it does look more moustache like once we've got the other side crocheted as well. So again, it's the same pattern for both parts, so you're just going to want to do this pattern twice. So I'm going to do the second one with you now, just to show you what I did to create that first one that I showed you. So we're going to start off in our white yarn by doing 3 single crochets in a magic circle. Now this does mean that the next round is going to be a little bit tight, so just take your time and be patient with it, because 3 single crochets is quite a small round. So for round 2, we're going to do an increase to start off with. So like I say, just take your time. And then we're going to do 2 single crochets, and that means we're going to end with 4 single crochets at the end of round 2. Just make sure to pull on that yarn tail if you've got any hole remaining at the top. So now for round 3, we're going to do 2 increases. And then 2 single crochets, which gets us up to 6 single crochets at the end of round 3. Then for round 4, we're going to do 2 increases again. And then this time we're going to do 2 decreases, which is actually going to keep us at 6 single crochets, but it just slightly changes the direction and shape to create a more moustache-like appearance. So that's the reason why we're doing this. Oh, and in terms of the decreases then, because I just realised I haven't actually showed you decreases yet in this pattern. So there's 2 different main ways that you can do a decrease. You could do a standard decrease where you start off as if you're doing a normal single crochet like this, but then instead of yarning over and pulling through both loops on your hook, go into the next loop, pull up a stitch, then yarn over and go through all 3 like this. So that's one way of doing the decrease. Or you can do what's more of an invisible decrease, where you just go into the front loop only of the next stitch, then go into the front loop only of the stitch after that, just pull up 1 loop like this, then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. So I am going to go with this invisible decrease, but if you find that too tricky, then you can just do a standard, and it doesn't significantly change the appearance, and it definitely doesn't change the structure of the piece. So that is round 4 completed. Then round 5 is a nice simple one where we're just going to single crochet all the way around, so 6 single crochets. Okay, so that's it. You can stuff if you want, but I'm just going to leave it unstuffed because it's quite a small piece. I don't necessarily feel like we need to stuff it. Then I'm going to cut my yarn so that I have a tail long enough for sewing. That was probably more than I needed, to be fair. And then I'm going to cut this little tail. You could just sort of push it on the inside and keep it in there, but there we go. So I've done that, and now I'm going to show you how to close up the remaining hole. So I've got my yarn needle. I'm going to be closing up this remaining hole. Wow, I really made a mess of that, didn't I? There we go. So now what you're going to do is you're going to weave this yarn tail through the front loop only of each of those final 6 stitches that we did in round 5. and just sort of pull gently as you're doing this. And that's it, then your hole should be closed up. So now hopefully you can kind of see what we're going to be doing. So we're going to sew these 2 moustache pieces like this to the body, and that's going to create the appearance of the moustache. So let's move on to that now. I've pinned the first moustache piece down. I'm going to sew them down 1 piece at a time. So you're going to want to make sure that this is pinned underneath the eyes, and so that the round 1 is facing outwards and the round 5 is facing inwards like this, and that there's kind of a bit of a moustache shape going on there. And then all you're going to do is just sew it down in whatever way is more comfortable for you. So I'm going to be just doing some whip stitching, and I'm going to try not to knock the camera as I do this, but yeah, I'm just going to be sort of trying to pick stitches that are almost underneath the moustache or to the side, so I'm not necessarily sewing down anything that's at the front because I want it to have a kind of 3D appearance, and then just sewing it down as best I can in line with how I have pinned it in place. Apologies, this is a little bit difficult to try and do while on camera, but I'll try my best. And it's totally up to you how far you want to go in terms of if you want to sew down the very end of the moustache or not. I think I'm probably not going to bother. I'm probably going to just sew about halfway up and then leave it at that. But again, it depends on what this is going to be used for and if you need it to be more stable. So now I'm just going to start. I'm probably going to get rid of this pin because I think it's going to get in my way now. I'm going to start going back around the other side. Maybe do one more stitch. Okay, so just like that, I'm going to leave this little bit unsewn like I mentioned earlier, but you can sew everything down if you want it to be extra stable. So now I'm just going to weave that yarn tail through the head like that, and then just puff that out a little bit more. And there we have it. So that's one side of the moustache sewn down. So now I need to do this other side here like this. I'm going to just do that off camera because I'm going to be using the exact same technique for that. So I finished sewing down the moustache. This is what it looks like now. We're now going to move on to doing the ears, so you're going to need both your shades of blue yarn for this. So I've made one of the ears and just showing you what it's going to look like. So the actual main ear itself is made with the lighter blue yarn, and then we just add some inner ear detail with some of the dark blue yarn. So let's make the ear to start off with. So we're going to start by doing 3 single crochets in a magic circle. So that's round 1. Then for round 2 we're going to increase all the way around, so that'll get us up to 6 at the end of round 2. Then for round 3 we're going to do single crochet increase, and we're going to repeat that all the way around, so we're going to do that 3 times in total, and that'll get us up to 9. So that's round 3 complete. Then for rounds 4 to 5, which are the last 2 rounds, we're just going to single crochet all the way around. So that's 9 single crochets per round, 18 single crochets that we're doing in total. I'm just going to count that 18 in my head rather than using stitch markers because it's not really necessary for such a small round. Okay, so that's round 5 done. I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail for sewing, and also just cut this tail to get it out of the way. So once you've done that, we're now going to move on to adding the dark blue inner ear detail. I've got a length of dark blue yarn here, and I'm going to start adding the inner ear detail. So to do this, I'm just going to start at the bottom and work my way up. You can do obviously whichever way you prefer. If you want to start at the top, you could do that instead, but I'm just going to start at the bottom, go through a stitch here, and then go into another one over the other side, and then just come back out the same place I started. Just pull gently on that. You don't want to pull too tight because you don't want these to look, you don't want to kind of like change the shape of the ear at all. You just want to add some extra colour to it. So yeah, just don't pull too tight, I would say. And then I'm just going to kind of find a place to go and maybe go over that same place maybe 3 times in total before moving up a little bit further up the ear. It doesn't matter if not all of your sort of stitches are the neatest, because you can just work over the same place multiple times. Okay, so something like this, and that's kind of comparable to what I have on the other side. It looks like maybe I went a little bit wider on the other side, so I might just add a bit of extra dark blue. I think I'll just do one more stitch. Okay, so something like that, and then you can just knot these 2 tails together on the inside of the ear. Just trim those. Push that in. Okay, so once you've got 2 ears like this, come back and I'll show you how to sew these to the head. I've sewn down this ear, I'm going to do the other one with you now. So you're going to roughly want to position the ears so that the inside of the ear is about at round 2. It doesn't have to be exactly, but that's about where you'd want it to be, and just place these on the top of the head. I'm not stuffing these, as you can see. You can if you want, but I'm not going to be stuffing mine because I think it looks better without it. And I'm just going to be whip stitching all the way around. As well, you can use pins too, but I'm just going to be holding this in place with my hand because it's quite a small piece, so it's fairly easy to just hold on to it. as I'm going along, I'm always just double checking to make sure I'm trying to get it as symmetrical as possible with the other side. And then I'm just going to sew around the back as well. Okay, then just check that again from the front, make sure that looks okay. So that's what the ears look like, and then I'm just going to weave that yarn tail through the body, or actually I might just weave it through the ear just to reduce the possibility that you might see some blue yarn through the body, which I don't really want. So just like that, and then I can cut that. Okay, so once you've sewed your ears on, the next thing we're going to do is to make little fluffy pieces to go either side of the body. So we're going to make 2 of these side fluff pieces. This is an example of what one of them looks like, so let's make the other one together now. And obviously they're worked in exactly the same way. So we're going to start off with our white yarn, doing 3 single crochets into a magic circle for round 1. Then for round 2 we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. And then we're going to do 2 single crochets. So that'll get us up to 4 single crochets at the end of round 2. And then for round 3 we're just going to single crochet all the way around, so 4 single crochets. Okay, then just cut your yarn, don't worry about leaving a tail for sewing. You can slip stitch into the next stitch if you want, just to make it so that it doesn't sort of seem as loose, but I'm just going to pull that yarn tail through, and I'll sort of show you how I crochet over that later. And then I'm going to cut this tail that's on the inside as well. So that's the first longer piece for this fluff piece, so now we're going to move on to making the second piece, and then we're going to join them together. So for the second piece we're going to repeat rounds 1 and 2 again, so that's 3 single crochets into a magic circle and then increase 2 single crochets. Okay, so that's that. I'm just going to cut this little tail at this point to get it out of the way. And now for the final round we're just going to be joining these 2 pieces together, so I'm going to start off by doing 2 single crochets into the one that's already on my hook. And I do find it quite helpful to mark the beginning of this round, just because it can be easy to sort of lose sight of where you started. So that's 1, then 2, then we're going to work 4 single crochets around this piece, so I'm going to start somewhere in the middle like this. And this is where this stitch might be a little bit hard to crochet into, so I would hold on to that tail while you're doing it. Like that. And then we've just got one more crochet to do on this side, and I would recommend that you crochet over this yarn tail as well. And then we're going to work 2 single crochets back into the first piece that was on our hook at the start of this round. So if you're not sure where to work into, just count 2 after your stitch marker, and that will help guide you. And I'm still crocheting over that tail as well. Okay, so if you've crocheted over that tail, just pull on it slightly and then you can cut that because you don't need that anymore. And then you can also cut your other main yarn and leave a tail for sewing. Pull that through and obviously take your stitch marker out as well. So this is what you end up with. So come back when you've got 2 like this, and I'll show you how to sew these to either side of the body. I've sewn down this side piece. I'm going to do the other one with you now. So you're going to want to make sure that the shorter part is at the top and the longer part is at the bottom. And you're going to want to place it to the side of the body, roughly so that the top of the piece is kind of in line with where the eyes are. So somewhere like this. And again, you can use your pins if you want to. I'm just going to not bother with this one. So again, no special technique to how I'm sewing this down or anything like that. I'm just going to be whip stitching all the way around. So I'm going to start at the back this time. And as you can obviously tell, I haven't added any stuffing either because it's such a small piece, it doesn't really need it. Okay, just double checking the positioning on that, and then I'm going to carry on working around the front. Okay, so something like that. I might just do one final stitch. Now I'm going to weave my yarn tail through the body, and then I can cut that. So when you've sewn both those pieces down, you should hopefully have something that looks a bit like this. The final thing that we need to complete this is to crochet and sew on the tail. Now obviously, depending on where you're going to display this or what you're going to do with it, you could just skip this part if the tail's not going to be visible, but I thought I'd try and get this as accurate as possible, and I noticed that Sweepa does have a tail. So I'm going to start off by crocheting in my white yarn actually, but you are going to need your dark blue too. So let's start off with white, and we're going to be doing 3 single crochets into a magic circle for round 1. Then for round 2, you're going to increase all the way around, which is going to get you up to 6 at the end of round 2. Okay, so at the end of round 2 you should have your 6 single crochets. Now for round 3, you're going to do single crochet increase and repeat that all the way around, so 3 times doing that in total to get you up to 9, and then round 4, 2 single crochet increase and do that 3 times to get you up to 12. I'll meet you when you're about to start round 5, as that's when we're going to be starting to do some colour changing. So I'm just about to start round 5, and in this round we're going to be doing 2 single crochet increase again, but this time we're going to be doing it 4 times rather than 3 times, and that means that we'll get up to 16 single crochets at the end of round 5. But then the difference with this round is that every other stitch we're going to do in dark blue. Now if you find colour changing difficult, then this might be quite a tricky round for you, so I'd suggest that if you want to make it a bit easier, you could just do this whole round in dark blue and just change completely to dark blue at this point. But if you look at the tail of Sweepa, the dark blue kind of transitions across from the white a bit more gradually than that, so that's why I decided to do this round, just to sort of improve the appearance of the tail and make it more accurate. So we're going to start off by doing our first single crochet in white, but we are going to need to change to dark blue immediately, so we are going to have to pull through in our dark blue colour to change colour, like this. So that's our first stitch. Then the second single crochet we're going to do in dark blue, but then we're going to need to go to white afterwards, so I'm going to pull through in my white. Then we're going to do white again, but pull through in dark blue. And then don't forget that this is actually an increase that we're going to be doing now as well, so we need to do another single crochet into the same stitch in our dark blue. And then we're just going to repeat that all the way around, and I will do all of this on camera because I appreciate that this could be quite tricky if you're not good at colour changing. So we're going to do white, 1 single crochet, then dark blue, the next single crochet, then white again, and then we're going to do another single crochet in the same stitch because this is going to be our second increase. So we're halfway done now. So white single crochet, dark blue single crochet, white single crochet, and then another dark blue one in the same stitch. And then this is our last few stitches, so white single crochet, dark blue, white, and then our final single crochet, which is going to be in the same stitch and in dark blue. And this time you can actually just pull through in your dark blue because you are just going to be working in dark blue from round 6 onwards, so just like that. And what I would suggest is that you leave your white tail for now, because I'm going to just crochet over that for a few stitches before I actually snip that, just to keep it more secure in place. But you should have something that looks like this, and you should now have 16 single crochets. So now for round 6 to 8, we're simply going to single crochet all the way around in dark blue, so that'll be 16 single crochets per round. Just going to show you the beginning of round 6 so you can see what I mean in terms of crocheting over the white tail. So I'm going to do that just for 2 or 3 single crochets, and then you can just cut the white tail because we're not going to be using the white anymore, and then just continue on in your dark blue until you get to the end of round 8. So I've just completed round 8, and this is what the tail's looking like at this point. I'm going to do the final couple of rounds with you now. So for round 9 we're going to be doing 2 single crochet decrease, and we're going to repeat that all the way around to get down to 12. And I'm going to be doing the invisible decrease again for this, but it really doesn't matter that much. Just do whatever is easiest for you. Okay, so now I'm down to 12 single crochets. I'm going to add a bit of stuffing at this point. I'd say stuff moderately for this one. That should be enough. And now we're ready to do our final round, which is going to be decreasing all the way around. And personally, when it comes to the final round of decreasing all the way around, I just like to do standard decreases for this, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Just got a little bit of the stuffing incorporated into that decrease by accident. Let's try that again. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. Just cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. And now the final step is to sew this to the back of the body. So you're going to want to sew the tail to the back of the body, but you're going to want to align this as best as you can so that the tail is kind of like between the eyes on the back of the body. So I'm just going to like roughly place a pin where I think that point probably is between the eyes, if that were to be on the back of the body. I'm going to use that as a guideline for where I'm sewing. Hopefully that made sense. So now what I'm going to do is just sew this down, trying to use that pin as like the sort of middle point that I'm aiming for. Okay, so I've now sewn that all the way around. Didn't quite get the positioning right because that pin is a little bit more over to the left rather than being in the centre, but if I sort of look at that tail and see how that aligns to the eyes, I think that looks good enough, to be honest, so I'm happy with that and I'm not going to try and do anything further. So I'm just going to weave that yarn tail through the tail, cut that, remove my pin. And now my sweeper is complete. So I'm just going to show you another view of the finished sweeper and that'll be the end of the video. Excuse the slight mess in the background, but this is what the finished sweeper looks like. And then from the back you can see the tail as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.